right, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another exciting broadcast with us here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I know we've got some new faces in the crowd today, both in our speakers and in our classrooms. And so if you are new to us, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Everything we do goes to our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out this program in 3 weeks or 3 years or 30 years down the road, you can absolutely do so. It'll be a lot of fun to do it that far in advance, I swear. If you are joining us for the first time too, we are bringing back some of our all-time favorite speakers with some guest speakers today. It's very, very exciting. Just a few weeks ago, we were joined by the lovely ladies, Hilde and Sunniva from Hearts in the Ice. We have been following the Hearts in the Ice team for several years now. I think 40 plus broadcasts featuring their incredible work at Bamsebu in Norway to bring attention to the climate crisis, the amazing wildlife, the amazing place that is Svalbard in Norway. I really encourage everyone to check out that website, check out our YouTube channel for all our broadcasts with them. It's been a really incredible journey. Now, on their journey, on this incredible education tour around the world that they've been highlighting, we've had the chance, the privilege really, of getting to interact and talk with some of the coolest explorers on planet Earth. Now, if you signed up for today's broadcast, you have a little bit of a hint of who we're speaking with today, but I'm going to turn it over to Hilde and Sunniva with guests in tow. We're all together in one big room. It's very exciting today to introduce our stars du jour. A big welcome to all our YouTube and live classes as well. So nice to have an audience truly from coast to coast across North America. And without further ado, Sunniva and Hilde, welcome to the program, and so nice to have you back.
It's great to see you, Jesse.
It's fantastic being here, and look who we have here.
Who do you have here? I mean, for our kids who have just walked in,
Exactly.
and they have no idea what's going on. Who are we joined by?
So this is Liv Arnesen. I grew up with her as my heroine. She was the first female to ski to the South Pole. Solo. And then she crossed the whole continent with this lady, Ann Bancroft. So these are really heroes.
And this woman right here, I have not seen for 30 years. This is Ann Bancroft. These are legends right now. Well, I say right now because they're still alive
Because of our age.
but they're legends. And Ann Bancroft is the first woman to go to the North Pole. She was with Will Steger's expedition in 1986, if I'm not mistaken. And then I was fortunate enough to join Ann Bancroft's team to the South Pole in 1992-93 with two other women. And so this is, the two of them have partnered up for the last 26 years. Yeah. And have a project called Bancroft Arnesen Explore. So there's the website. It's amazing to be with you guys. This is the first time the four of us have ever been together. And like we say, women hold up half the sky.
Honestly, I don't think we've ever had so much talent in one room in history. And by the way, 92, sorry, I was being born in 92, so I think equally momentous. Like, I'm here, amazing expedition, good time all around. Also, the solo add to that is the greatest single line in the history of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So thank you for throwing that in. It's really quite incredible to think about an expedition like that for our students who, are just beginning to learn about science and exploration. What does that actually look like to prepare for something like that, where you're doing something of that magnitude? How long in advance are you thinking about it? How much are you preparing? How many people are involved in making something like that come to fruition? I'm really curious.
About the solo trip?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Norway and got my first skis when I was 3 years old, and ever since go skiing. And so you get longer and longer trips, and you learn more and more what to bring in your backpack, what to bring in your sled. And I've been into sports like cross-country skiing. I used to compete. So I think it's been step by step. But I get the dream to ski to the South Pole, reading a book when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I was 41 when I actually did it. So it took some. But I've been into sport and outdoor life all my life.
What was the book you read, Lee?
The book was Skiing to the South Pole with Liv Arnesen, the first man that reached the South Pole with his team, and he was a Norwegian. And Norway is such a tiny country, so we have these few heroes, and actually many of them are polar heroes. done thing in the Arctic and Antarctica.
And in the newer time, it's important to remember that Liv was one of the big heroes, female heroes in Norway. And I've had the privilege to ski with her up in Svalbard for several expeditions.
Yeah.
So we have known each other for more than 20 years too, as Sunniva and Ann has.
How amazing to have had that experience, to get to do something like that with one of your heroes. It's like playing guitar with Jimi Hendrix on stage. You get to ski with Liv. I mean, that is like the... And by the way, I'm so glad you mentioned Norway. So our audience, I'm Canadian. We've got some Canadians in the room. We've got Americans. We've got Norwegians. A lot of our Canadian American audience today might not be familiar with Norway's history and tradition with polar exploration and sport in particular. I'm so glad you mentioned sport. The Olympics every year, we try so hard to beat you in goal as the Canadians, and every year we lose out. And it's really, you're like the one that consistently beats us with so many fewer people. Oh, so how long does it actually take to get to the South Pole? So you start off, you fly in, you end up on the middle of nowhere, and you take how long to get there?
Well, I skied 50 days. To the South Pole, but when Ann and I crossed the continent, we used 94 days.
Were you
3 months.
skiing,
3 months.
Were you skiing as well when you did it together, or were you walking?
We skied and pulled a sled, heavy sled, with all the food and fuel and everything.
So Jesse, they're the first women in history to cross the Antarctic.
As one does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
how much does
Go ahead. You were asking how long time it took to prepare for an expedition like that, and as Liv said, it's kind of the whole life. Like you start off with the shorter trips, and I think for Sunniva and I too, for the Bamsebu expedition, that was also something that we prepared for basically for 50 years. But actually planning is maybe a couple of years to answer that question.
I want Ann Bancroft to answer that question, because when Ann put the AWE expedition together, which started in 1992, that was something that nobody in our world could even imagine was going to happen, because women had never even attempted to do that. Can you talk just a little bit about what that journey of preparation was like? Because that went on for years.
Yeah, we probably did our homework for about 4 years, and it means many things. It's physically getting in shape. It's, and of course, mental. It's securing the right gear and the right food. And oftentimes, because so few people are doing these expeditions, it means going out on other smaller expeditions and testing to make sure that you've got the right tent or the right sleeping bag and those kinds of things. So there's lots of homework that goes into it. I think one of the fun part about our expedition, Sunniva, was the partnering with people in science who wanted to use our expedition and the isolation and the long-term, the fact that we were out for 64 days or whatever it was, as sort of a great laboratory. So we did research for them, because they have a harder time getting to those places or whatever. And one of the research partnerships that we had that's so interesting, and we also did it crossing Antarctica because they just kept coming back. I used to joke that we weren't giving them the right answers, but was psychological research, and they were applying what they were learning from all of our different expeditions towards what they were wanting to do with NASA up in space, and the team dynamics and the stress and the isolation. So what's fun about these expeditions is not only where we go, but who we team up with and how we learn even more about the worlds and ourselves that we care about. So we learn about our own physiology. We learn about science, as we're educators, so intersecting with scientists was such fun and remains to be really fun. So the expeditions are really broad scoped. And that's why it's fun to do all that homework in the beginning, because the planning and prep is just sort of juicy. I don't know, it's like a big Sunday, you just dive in and follow it up.
I'm so curious on a follow-up for this because you talk about the psychological element of it. And we had a guy who was on the seafloor for 100 days last year who joined us. We've had people on the Mars analog missions where they put them in the desert to see how they respond to that. For both of you and for all four of you, in fact, what do you find, are there traits that you have that you find make you uniquely suitable to be on these long time expeditions with people in close quarters, in hostile conditions, or something that you've seen in other expedition partners that you've had that for our students might be something that they can look for in themselves or in others? I'm just really curious what your traits are that unite you.
Oh, so many.
That's a great question.
You want to?
Well, I think humor is one.
Well, that
Yeah.
humor.
You can't take yourself too seriously, and you got to have fun, even though it's because you love doing what you're doing, but it's super hard work and can be very stressful and at times, and there's implications. You're wanting to be successful for various groups that are helping you, so as well as yourself, of course, but it's really important to have a good time. You know, so humor is a great tool.
You know, you can always count on Ann for a good time and for putting a slice of a real fun around things that are so hard that some of us take so seriously. You know, it's like you need to crack yourself open. Yeah.
Curiosity, another one. Yeah.
Yeah, and also maybe, as you said, having a purpose, feeling that we had the same goal. When Sunniva and I stayed 19 months together at this little trapper's cabin, which we were not always friends, but just having purpose and the common goal, and feeling that this was much bigger than us. This was not about us anymore. This was our community. It was the messaging. It was the storytelling. It was the data sampling. So I think that's important too. For
And
us.
I think a willingness to be open to feedback. And I don't just mean in tactical things what you're doing, but who we are as people.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone into some of these experiences having a sense of who I think I am. And thank God for humor, because the woman who comes out the other end of that is really different. And a willingness to accept both our frailties, you know, our shortcomings and our strengths, and celebrate those things in the company of someone that you respect and trust. So picking your mates carefully is really super important.
Fantastic. I figured curiosity would be one, sense of purpose. I'm so glad, Ann, that you started with humor. It's something that unites a lot of the people that we bring on. We're lucky to get to work with explorers in all manner of fields, and some of the funniest bunch of people I've ever met in my life. In fact, even your illustration of how you would feel about a 19-month expedition alone in a cabin is hilarious. So thank you very much for that.
Counting, right?
I'm really curious for our kids, because I remember when I grew up, I was a really nerdy kid, and I was like telling everyone in my classes about absolutely everything because the world's a fantastic place. And to this day, even adults, most people have a really hard time differentiating the Arctic from the Antarctic. So with your experience in North and South Pole exploration, what's something that our classes from grade 3 through 9 today can take away about what the differences are, how unique those environments are from one another? And I'd love both your perspectives, please.
Well, the Arctic Sea is a sea, and it's ice over the water. Antarctica, there are rock under the glaciers. So we see now, science can tell us that the Arctic Ocean is melting, and it's more and more open water. It might be difficult to ski to the North Pole in a few years because it's so many open leads and big areas of open water. In Antarctica, I think it will start. It's also melting apart the eastern Antarctica, and big chunks is coming out of the shelves. When Ann and I crossed the continent in 2001 on the way back, I think we were sailing for 2 hours after a big ice shelf that are going up from the Ross Shelf. So it's happened, but so far, and it's polar bears in the north. Mm-hmm. And it's penguins in the south. That's important.
It's one of my big lessons that I always do in every broadcast, is to make sure that if you leave with one thing as a piece of knowledge, penguins are south, Polar bears are north. They never meet. As cool as that would be, maybe not for the penguins, but I'm so glad you mentioned that. And any perspective you can share, having had this sort of dual wonderful experience?
Well, they're both cold places, but that's really the only kind of cold and icy, perhaps, where they are similar. But I think what some people forget is that when you go, the North Pole is in the northern hemisphere, so you start in spring to get a jump when the sun is coming over those Canadian mountains, to get a little jump out of the darkness, and you've got the curvature of the earth, hiding that sun for a long time. And it's incredibly cold in early March. It's like 75 below zero Fahrenheit. And you're skiing into spring, so it warms up, and you're of course in a hurry to get there before things really fall apart with the ice in summertime. In Antarctica, you go in November, and you're in the summer because you're in the southern hemisphere, and it's actually probably the coldest without the wind is 40 below. So it's really comfortable, and yet it's the coldest, windiest place on Earth. So, and sun is out 24 hours a day. So it's more comfortable in a certain way than going to the North Pole because of the seasons. And but people hear about Antarctica and they say it's the coldest, windiest, darkest, most remote continent on the globe. And
not for us.
She used the word comfortable. Okay, so
Yeah, exactly.
They're very different places, and they're both. The other thing I'll just say, I guess the commonality is they're both just absolutely magical.
Yes.
And we understand. We love these places, the four of us, but we know it's not for everyone. Some people just like to read about it or see pictures of it. But for us, it's a magical, wonderful world that's filled with color and splendor. It can be both very calm and very ferocious. But we all feel very thankful that we've gotten to travel in these unique places on the globe, which so many people don't get to see.
Very, very cool. I love your comment on -40 being good. So one of my favorite adventure stories of all time. I think it's in The Worst Journey in the World, spectacular book. But it was -50 for so long that it gets to be -30, and they're all stripping off their clothes and like, oh, shorts and a t-shirt. Oh, it's so hot out. And it's amazing how quickly your body acclimatizes to those extreme conditions. Most of our kids in these classes will never experience -40. I think I've been in -40 once or twice in my life. And I mean, that's like you throw up hot water, it freezes on the way down. You breathe, it turns to ice in your lungs. And for you, that's like, oh, cool, summer vacation, wonderful. You've hit upon something that I think is so important. And I mean, it's for you, it's your everyday experience. But the fact that summer is different on both sides of the Earth. So summer again starting, we have got November going in the South Pole, and the perpetual darkness, perpetual daylight is one of the coolest facts about our planet, and a sort of unique experience that you can have at the pole. So I'm so glad you highlighted that in that answer. Thank you very much, Ann and Liv. Classes, we've got a whole bunch of classes with us, so I'm going to head to them in a minute for some questions. YouTubers, if you guys want to chime in with questions, fantastic. But Mrs. Forsyth, Ms. Michael's class, Ms. A's class, I'm going to come to you all in a minute. Before we go to our class questions, is there anything about Bancroft Arnesen Explore that you'd like to share with us? A little bit about your own organization, the work that you've done. I fell down the rabbit hole of your website before I started today's broadcast. It's a really amazing project you've got on the go over many, many years. So I'm really curious for you to share more of that with our kids.
Yeah, we are right now. We are focused on access to fresh water. We have invited one woman from each continent, with different age, different background. So we are going on waterways on each continent, and made a curriculum with the UN and the international Scouts organizations. And the next expedition is to New Zealand in January. So we are going to canoe the Wanganui River in New Zealand, the first river that has got human rights, and we will do that with the Maoris. So we will share their stories. They are very touched to the nature and environment.
Cool. And anything to add?
Pardon me?
I just wanted to know if you had anything to add. I'm so happy you're going to that specific river. That's such a cool story. A lot of our kids won't be familiar with that, so I'll make sure we link into the website at the end. But anything you want to add about the expedition in total before we start taking questions from our keen kids?
Yeah, I'm really excited because one is we get to be in this incredibly beautiful wilderness, but we also get to listen to the indigenous cultures that have it's multi-centuries old relationship with the earth. And so we'll go from mountains to the sea. On the Wanganui, we'll get on the ocean in a traditional waka. And we're really just hoping to listen very closely, particularly to the elders, about what they've seen, how the earth is changing. And we're going to be in fisheries with the indigenous cultures, talking about how important fish is to that culture as an island nation, but also how to do it in a sustainable way so that we don't fish away species. And so we're really there to learn and listen and then broadcast out, much like you're doing, to share with student communities around the world.
Spectacular. I love the focus of classrooms, particularly in Canada. Canada has done a lot of work in the last few years to really bring in Indigenous voices in a big way. When we do Indigenous-led programs, they tend to get triple to quadruple the audience of anything else that we do because there's such an interest in this cultural tradition, heritage stories. But yes, you hit the nail on the head. The essence is that cultures that have maintained their land and waters for thousands and thousands of years have a lot to teach us as Westerners, as Western civilization that have come in and largely done a lot of harm to a lot of ecosystems around the world. And the freshwater focus is so important. I think it's one thing that's really nice about it is that everyone, no matter where they are on this planet, everyone wants there to be good fresh water. Whether it's for animals, whether it's for habitats, whether it's for us. No one says, oh, I want polluted water. That has never been spoken in the history of the world ever. And so it's a great connector no matter where you're going around the world. And again, I've shared the link, but I really encourage our audience, check out the expedition website, check out some of these amazing water bodies that Liv and Ann are going to with their incredible team. So much more to discover there. Fantastic. We're going to dive in with questions. I don't need to talk anymore. I talk enough in my job. Miss Forsyth, I'm coming to you guys in just a minute, joining us in Bracebridge, but we've got a great question from Miss Constable's class. Very on the nose. Do you still have all your toes?
I lost a little piece of mine.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we had an accident because there was a plane coming in when we started to the North Pole. And it smashed my ski and my ski binding, so I had to repair it and took a really hard strings over my wrist, and that stopped the blood, my foot. So it stopped the blood, and after 3-4 days, I realized that I woke up with 3 blue toes, but the tip of my big toe is removed. But I have the balance and everything. I didn't took much of it.
It's very cute.
The cutest missing piece ever. So there you go. There's our answer, ladies. And for our audience, we've got 30 between the 4. We've got 39 and a half toes. So we're doing pretty well. So far. Faith and polar work.
Not bad.
We're gonna go to Miss Forsyth's class live in the Navajo West. We're coming to you right after. Come on in, guys. Hey.
Noah has a question. What is the main food source in like the Arctic and stuff?
Yes. For people when they're on expedition, or for the animals there?
For the people.
For people. What are you guys eating when you're out in the field?
Food source.
A food source.
Yes.
Dry. I mean,
Fat.
For a long expedition like they had, it's important that it's a lot of fat, and it's
dried food, dried pasta, dried meat, dried vegetables, and cereals for breakfast with a lot of oil in because we need a lot of fat. And you can't actually eat the breakfast at home because it's so oily. But that's important to get a lot of calories. Women need 4,000 calories, men about 7,000 calories a day.
Wow.
I like 45.
a little extra.
And it's really important to bring food that you like, that tastes good, that you because it becomes the thing that you look forward to. You think about food all the time, or at least I do.
The good thing with Bamsebu when we were there at this trapper's cabin was that we could bring everything we wanted, and we had a fresh reindeer to autumns. So I'm a hunter, so we had one reindeer the first autumn, and the second one the second autumn, and we had fish in the ocean, so we could actually live off the land, and we could store everything there. So, but when Sunniva got out of coffee,
That was bad.
that was bad. After almost 12 months, she was out of coffee. Not with the thing.
That's bad.
That's
yeah.
ouch.
Yeah.
Can I just say I've done 7 years of broadcast, and the fact that you just said fresh reindeer, and the other 3 of you were like, ooh, instantly is one of the joys of my entire time doing this work. So thank you for that. Sorry, I'm going to follow up really quickly because this is something that gets talked about in every single polar program ever. How much chocolate do you have? Because chocolate seems to be like the uniter of everyone. Without chocolate, it's all over in a hurry. Are you? What do you bring?
Chocolate.
It's the best.
And it's, we every day, for at least for the two of us, I don't know, but these ladies are living in luxury. But we had a chocolate bar. I'm not kidding you. It was a foot long, and it was super thick from Norway. And each day we got one, so that means 97 chocolate bars.
Nice.
And we didn't have to share with each other.
Wonderful.
And why not go?
You go just for that.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
It's hilarious. Whenever I go anywhere in the world, I always find, and you can find them everywhere. I swear it's like a contract with the planet. You can always find Ferrero Rochers, and I always get ones that like the best day of the expedition, I can pop one of those, and you're just like hazelnutty goodness. We should advertise. That could be the next big funders for polar exploration, is like the chocolate companies, like, going to the North Pole, buy Kit Kat. We'll figure it out.
I think you're onto something.
You work on that, Jesse.
We'll go.
Let's see. Yeah, there was one comment here that you didn't hear, and that was Liv telling us all, and I know this story from before. She's never going to eat that same chocolate again. This is a special chocolate called Stratos, and it's some air bubbles in it, so it's quite light of weight. It's milk chocolate, but it's delicious. But after, I don't know, maybe 100 days, it's not so delicious anymore.
It was 50 days.
Oh, yeah, 50 days.
I'm done.
You're done.
And that's my daughter's favorite chocolate. And when I see the color, I was just, ooh.
Yeah, your freeze-dried meals. In fact, I want to encourage our classes. Like, there's not like some special store. Now, high-level expeditions will probably have stuff packed for them in a way that we wouldn't. But if you go to an outfitter store, I remember on my expedition, Sail is the big one in Canada, and you can buy those freeze-dried food packs that you can pour hot water in, mix around, and eat. They're passable. They give you the calories you need to survive. Some of them are okay. Some of them aren't okay. But I encourage our classes in your life, have one of those, just so you can see what polar explorers like our gang here get up to. Africa West, we're going to head to Glenview, Illinois. If you have a question for us, grade 3s, come on in and take us away.
We have many questions. So here you go, Sally.
Did you have fun on the trip?
Fun?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
No, that was easy. Quick question. Great job. We can go to a second question if you've got more.
Okay, you two can ask your question together because your questions kind of go together.
Where do you Where do you like take showers and stuff?
And I think yes, the stuff
Where do you go to the
bathroom.
And where do you sleep?
Showers, bathroom, and sleep.
Sleep. Perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
take it away.
Great questions.
Oh, you go for it.
Okay. So
What is the most asked question is, how do you go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
In all my years of doing this.
And Liv is going to demonstrate.
Yeah. You take off your trousers and, you go outside in the wind and do it as fast as you can. And pick up all the pressure you can to get the shit out as well.
So that's
easy.
It's the end of the wind that's the best part of that. So thank you. So you just go where you are, no matter what. And then showers, are there glorious shower facilities as you're crossing Antarctica, or no? No.
No.
Sure.
And at Bumps, we didn't shower for 9 months. So
Just don't take your hat off.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Does it float? Does the pee float?
Does it flow?
I just I wanted to bring her up because the face with the shower for no shower for 9 months was priceless. I wish it was on camera. It was amazing. So, okay, so no showers. You're just going out in the woods and then sleeping, like a big king size mattress out there that you're dragging along with you on a summer summer. No.
We all get in a little sleeping bag. We look like hot dogs in a bun.
Yep.
We're in our tents and we're next to, like next door to each other. So you have to be nice to your tent partner because you got to live together for so many months.
Yep.
So you just want to keep your area, not get too elbowy.
Space.
Yeah, little space. And
when we needed, especially on our expedition, when we needed some more space to repair something, I had to ask her, can I go into your property? And she said, okay.
I mean, you're kidding, but like it's absolutely, it's such an essential part of this. When Hilde and Sunniva, we've talked about the cabin and your life there for so many months, and we're all living in luxury to have the space that we have in our homes, apartments, wherever we might happen to live. And that's, true no matter what the situation we might be in comparison to polar exploration. It's very tight-knit quarters. Astronauts have the same issue where it's really important to maintain those personal boundaries. And I'm really glad we got to mention that. So thanks, our Glenview crew. Miss A's class, or Dr. David Williams' class, come on in, grade 6s, and take us away. Hey, guys.
All right, Ilian. So this is Ilian. Go ahead.
My question was, you said you went to the North Pole alone. What gave you the urge to do that?
Ooh, why go?
Well, I went to the North Pole, but I went with 7 guys and 49 male dogs before you were born. And then Liv went to the South Pole all by herself. So I think that's maybe the one you mean.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I got the dream of the South Pole when reading the book when I was 8 years old.
Yep.
And I started to read all the books I could find about the South Pole and explorers there. Yep. And of course, then I was skiing and also learned a lot of all the old explorers' mistakes. So I actually had a really good expedition.
I think the one thing that I think is true of these two is that when we were young, maybe 8, 9, 10, books were really important to igniting these dreams that we had about the top and the bottom of the world. So reading was a way to travel before we got the skills to actually go to those places.
Yep. I am so glad that you mentioned this. Books are a huge part of my life. My whole field in science communication is inspired by this. Joe, my colleague, same deal. It's amazing when you're young, you have this opportunity to explore so many worlds. You're taught in your classes, you have access to all these libraries, which libraries are the greatest places in the world. If you want to find out resources of all kinds, head to a library. It's all for free. It's like black magic that you can access that much information and inspiration around the world. And what really differentiates the people that we bring on this program, and particularly you four with the incredible histories you've had, is that you just make those dreams reality. You have a goal, you have something that you're willing to work at and gain the skills at for 30 plus years before you can put it into action. And that it's the persistence, it's the dedication, perspicacity that really sets you apart. And I'm so glad we got this question. So thanks, Ms. A's class. We really appreciate that. And I love the books for your inspiration. They're mine. They're, I think, so many of our kids too. If you love to read, you're like half the battle is done for you. So keep it up. We're going to take one from, online. Cookie in Vancouver wants to know, what's the coolest animals you've encountered at the poles? And then we're going to go back to our live classes.
I think the coolest birds are the penguins, but we didn't see them on the expedition because we are on the ice cap and there's no animals or birds, no food are living there. So was it talking about food? I thought it was
No.
yeah.
There's
So
no
the,
food.
no, yeah. So the penguins, they are so cool.
Mm.
They're just like men in tuxedo, just walking and greeting us. So they are really cool.
Amazing.
I think,
And then the North.
well,
Now, are there animals in the North Pole or not?
yeah, the Arctic, I would say, or the North Pole region, of course, the polar bears are spectacular. But I think I was most enamored with the white wolves that were coming off of the top of Canada. They wouldn't go all the way to the North Pole because there wasn't a good food source for them. They're not seal eaters. They much prefer muskox or other four-legged creatures to eat. But when I've seen wolves where I come from in Minnesota, but I've never seen white wolves until I went up to get ready for the North Pole.
I will say, as a follow-up to this, just as a great resource for classes, like I grew up with a lot of polar bear footage, a lot of penguin footage. The most recent big BBC Frozen documentary, so Frozen Planet 2, has some exceptional footage of white wolves. And I mean, if you want just some of the greatest, like they're like the most magical looking creature in a landscape, I think, on planet Earth. Really encourage our classes to check that out. So much fun to be had. So please do. Great question.
I'd have to say that the species that really got under my skin were beluga whales.
Yes.
And I remember really quickly our second month in at Bumsaboo, and we're at a place where there's 11 piles of beluga bones, right, along the beach. And we completely decimated the population. And then we're just transferring equipment from one place to another, and then we hear this, and we look out in the fjord, and there's hundreds of belugas, probably 5 meters off the shoreline, and it was just, they're back. I mean, we know that they're up there now, but it was really, really special. And they're the only marine mammal that actually have vertebrae in their neck, and so I'm sure that I made eye contact with one of them. You know, it was absolutely amazing.
That's magical.
Yeah, it was magical.
And he froze.
He froze. He was afraid of that.
Yeah, but I think you guys can hear us still. I think he has some bad internet, so we can talk about more animals. I can talk
It's always a hit.
Yeah, yeah. I from my personal view, I totally love the polar bears. And Sunniva and I had the opportunity to follow a polar bear mom. We called her Violet, and we followed her for Norwegian Polar Institute in 2 years. So that was magical. And when she came out in March, April with the cubs, and for us to be able to encounter that, to speak about how her conditions and the polar bear cubs was amazing. But also, I mean, reindeers, whales around us, walruses. We had a walrus mom with a cub, or a calf. I think that's called. But so wildlife in general, also the birds, just being in nature and being able to explore and to be eyewitnesses of them growing up, their whole cycluses when the birds comes into Svalbard and nest, and the chicks are getting bigger, and then all of a sudden that same autumn they fly away. So just be reconnected to nature in a total, or immersed by nature in the way we did, was absolutely amazing. And that's Jesse is back.
I'm back. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
All good.
I don't know if I was able to bring up this question before my internet died, but we had a great one about why 49 dogs. Did we get that one or not?
Nope.
No.
Please do tell.
49 dogs. We meant to have 50. And we got to Canada, and one of the dogs decided that it wasn't for him. So he said, I would like to go home. And so we had 49.
Yep.
We try and respect their wishes.
How many in each sled?
Typically, there's 10 dogs per sled.
Yeah.
Good question. And we had 5 sleds. So
So, and they're just to help drag the materials. You've got so much on the go that it wouldn't be possible or be much more difficult to carry it yourselves. And so the dogs are there as an assisting animal companion.
And they're wonderful.
Yes.
They're great workers. They're just like us. I'm an elementary school teacher, and I felt like I was right back in the classroom. Some don't like each other. Some goof off.
Yep.
They have good days, bad days. I mean, they have big personalities. And so your team isn't just 8 people. It's 8 people plus the canines, the dogs. And you have to remember that we're all kind of in it together.
I'm so glad dogs got brought into this. So classically, there was a famous race to the South Pole, the UK expedition, the Norwegian expedition, and the Norwegians relied on dogs and made it first. And so Liv Arnesen and his team are the first people to ever make it there. The history of dogs in polar exploration is a really great story. We could have many broadcasts just on that. So thank you, Yasin, for that question, Ms. Kirk's class. We're going to do another round of questions. We're going to try and rapid fire 5 more minutes. I know some of our class have to end their day pretty soon, but Ms. Forsyth, if you have another one, I'll come to you in a minute. We've got students right at the camera at Avoca West. So grade 3s, I'm going to come to you first. Come on in, guys. Hey.
Hey.
Okay, how much penguins have you seen?
Ooh.
Oh, hundreds and thousands.
Wow.
Yeah.
Penguins are, it's hard to really fathom this. For a lot of our students, you've seen 10 birds, maybe you've seen 20 birds together. Penguins can get in groups of tens, hundreds of thousands in some really special locales. So I'm really glad we got that question. Thanks, my dear. Miss A's class, I'll come to you guys. Miss Forsyth, if you want a question, just flick on your camera and I'll come to you and I'll know you're good to go. But come on back in. Hey, guys.
Maria, you're up.
Okay, so my question is,
Oh, sorry, she wrote it down.
That's okay. Take your time.
where, like when you go outside to dinner?
How do you plan what you're going to pack to wear to go on travel?
Well, you don't change your clothes too often. So there's not a lot of big decisions in terms of how many items you bring. But I don't know, you're good at this.
No, it's like she says, on a long ski expedition like they did, they don't bring more than maybe 1 or 2 different pairs of underwear, long underwear in wool. With Sunniva and myself, we had more. Well, we didn't have much space, but we had more space than a sled. So we brought some more, but it's you don't change clothes that much. We didn't have water either. We didn't wash our clothes more than maybe once a month, maybe the underwear every second week, maybe a little more often the hair, because water was a very limited source for us. And I mean, if you have wool underneath, you don't smell. We're at least quite lucky with the body odor, and you can keep yourself clean by just having a little bowl of water and a washing cloth.
And it's such a clean the cold environments are actually quite clean environments, so you don't feel dirty like on a summer camping trip. Yeah. It's quite different. So it's not as gross as it sounds. And except this group, they don't think it's something.
They don't mind it. Yeah, no.
There's something so purposeful around bringing only what you need. And I think this is why it's good to go on these training trips and you just pare down and when you're going on the real deal, you just take only what you need and you reuse. And I feel like after trips, you realize that you always take more than you really need. And I think they're good exercises for us physically and emotionally and mentally to kind of like detach from needing to own too much, right? Because I think that, most of us overconsume and overbuy, and we don't need to. So I think these trips are really good ways to pare down and kind of figure that out. Actually,
I'm so glad we got this question because, again, it underscores what you mentioned at the beginning, where it's really important that you learn so much about yourselves when you're on these expeditions in so many ways, whether it's boundaries, personal space, willingness to be clean or lack thereof, how to go to the bathroom, into the wind, leave. I mean, it's something that I think really speaks to all our classes. And again, it's something things that sound uncomfortable, but it's in pursuit of exploration. It's in pursuit of great scientific discovery, pursuit of educating communities like our students joining from today. And it's what makes it such a special experience. So I hope our students, don't be put off. It sounds a little daunting. It sounded a little daunting to me when I was a boy, but it's really, you live on the edge of adventure and you get to accomplish really special things like the amazing 4 women we've had the chance to be joined by today. Really briefly, I want to highlight again, if our kids want to learn more, heartsintheice.com for Hilde and Sunniva's amazing project. We've done so many broadcasts. They're all on our YouTube channel if you want to check those out. And of course, if you want to check out Bancroft Arnesen Explore, check out the link below. I'll make sure all these are in our registered class email at the end so you can follow up and keep the learning going. And of course, Liv and Ann, if you ever want to be joined in New Zealand or anywhere else in the world by broadcast, just bug us. Hilde and Sunniva get emails from us all the time. The more the merrier. We'd love to have you back. Before we bring in all our classes to say a big thank you and farewell, is there a final message you want to share with our kids today about polar exploration that they can go home with?
Well, I won't. This isn't about polar exploration per se, but it's. I would just say to all of you, just follow your heart and do the thing that is most important to you, and that's the greatest adventure you'll ever have.
Nice. Liv?
I agree. If you feel that your heart is beating a little bit faster, then you have met something that is important for you. So follow that track.
Amazing. Ladies, thank you so much. It's been honestly an honor having the chance to hang out with you for 45 minutes. As Ann and Liv, as you'll learn, what we do to wrap up every broadcast, I'm going to bring in our kids to say a big thank you and farewell and lose their minds a little. So Miss Forsyth, have a good one.